Welcome back to the Blueprints Brocast. My name is Jay Cruz.
I'm Austyn Tokar.
It is the new year. I know the last one was the one that dropped actually on the New Year's Day, but we're in the new year now.
We're in the new year. Today's the new year.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, today's Monday.
Yeah, today's Monday. The episode dropped.
I never come here on a Monday. That's why.
Yeah, and now we're on the true first episode of the year.
Yeah.
It's funny because everybody makes these promises to themselves. We call them resolutions.
Yeah.
And I'm not really like a big hey, I'm gonna change this part of my life. I just I just think about it and I'm like, oh, let me just tweak a few things in my life.
Yeah.
Because I think most of the time things go fairly well. And I'm always like a self-reflector, and I'm like, oh, how do I adjust this? How do I do this? And I tweak things all the time. So I don't make huge resolutions ever. And I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's
probably something you change over time too. Cause I think everybody's changed over time a little bit about it. It used to be, I don't know when this popularized, but the new year's happening. I got to set some resolutions. Yeah. I got to do something big. I got to hit it big, bro. I feel like that's kind of dwindling out slightly. People talk about it, but they don't there's not much, not hiatus, but, what is the word? What is the word? Okay.
There is a lull in the participation.
Yeah. People aren't as ecstatic about it.
Yeah. Oh, excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah. They're kind of yeah, but man, I think, people are depressed about it.
Yeah. See, I'm someone that's I see something and I'm just oh, let's just do it.
Yeah.
It's New Year. So we're hey, let's have a new set. And I just was hey, let's put some stuff together. We got some new chairs and I was oh, let's just throw a desk in here and let's try a different format. And I'm just well, let's just do it. And most
you see, that one's very attainable, very easy, very attainable. Something you can do real quick.
Yeah.
You already started the year with a win, within the matter of days or hours, right? People set these massive goals, and I think they just run themselves into the ground so much. They're kind of oh man, I'm not going to make any more goals.
What's an example of one of those that somebody that made and was oh, I'm going to do this crazy thing, and then they just didn't even.
I remember this guy when I used to train at Gold's Gym. Guy comes in, and this is nothing against him personally, but he's kind of a cocky guy, right? He signs up for the gym first of the year. He's I'm gonna get after it. You're gonna love my transformation. I'm gonna come in jacked by the end of the year. And I'm all right, yeah, cool. I'm here to support you, man. And so this dude's 350 pounds, I think it was, about 5'8". So he's a pretty thick boy.
Yeah.
Very barrel chested. So I see him coming consistently for a good month. Sometimes I walk in, pop in on his workouts, hey, how's it going? He's yeah, I'm getting after it, bro, getting after it. And you're going to see me at the end of the year, and he would repeat the same thing. I think about that March time, he was, he just didn't come in for a week. And I was hey, where'd that guy go? Because you get so used to seeing someone consistently for so long. And then he comes back, and he's a week later, he's oh, man, I just fell off a little bit, man. We're on this fast food hiatus. Right.
A fast food hiatus.
Yeah. It's what? He's yeah, I just had some Domino's one night, celebrate a little bit, dropped 50 pounds. It's oh man, that's you deserved it, because 50-pound drop is a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm get a little refeed in there, Yeah. So I guess it just continued downhill from there. Wow. And then he came back for another week, and then boom, gone again. But I didn't see him till the end of the year, and well, he hadn't been going to the gym that whole time.
Yeah.
So.
I've noticed that people that have a hard time with weight and just staying fit are people that celebrate with food.
Yeah.
And I know that, our family, we do that a lot, but we don't reward ourselves with food. We celebrate with food, but we don't reward with food. And so for that type of person, they're hey, I deserve this. Let me reward myself. Ooh, that felt good. Let me reward myself again. And then the reward becomes that eating again. And they go right back into, it's like someone that just got off of, cocaine or something like that, and it's oh, let me celebrate with the thing that I've been
your addiction.
Yeah, let me celebrate with my addiction, and that's a no. You can't do that.
You can't go back. It's not you can't go back to food. It's just you can't go back to massive meals.
Yeah,
you don't need that. You need something small.
He said I went to Domino's and bought a whole large pizza and ate it the whole thing.
Domino's easy, bro. Takes 10 minutes to get to your house or something like that.
Oh man,
I remember that was just down the street from us when we lived in Pacific Grove.
Oh,
I'm just like, it was right there. Ruben would take his one wheel over there, bring it right back. Domino's gets there quick.
yeah. I have a friend right now. He came over today to work out, and he's like, "Bro, 6 months, six pack." And I'm like, "Okay." Like, I asked him how much he weighed. He's about 230. He's about my same height, and he's there's muscle. He has muscle,
Yeah.
but he has like a good little winter coat that he put on. And he said that just this past month he put on 9 pounds. So I think we talked about the 10 pounds that you gain around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I looked at him and I was like, dude, like you have muscle, and that's very possible, but you have to change what you do. It can't be just a little bit. You got to like fully like change everything. So I told him like just really basic stuff. Hey, make sure you're getting a movement in like 8,000 steps a day at least, because if you're not doing anything right now, that's going to be so much activity that your body's going to be like, oh, something different's happening. And it's going to start that change. Cause I've noticed since you've had me eating more and I'm walking, I'm not gaining fat, my composition is changing. So
Just more mindful of how much you're actually moving in a day.
yeah, just move. And so he's like, okay. And I gave him a couple other tips and everything. So he's on that 6 month six pack. I think he'll be able to see like it will. Right now he has a like a 5-gallon water jug.
Yeah.
Right now, but I think he at least will get lines. It's not going to be like Hawaiian rolls. It won't be Hawaiian rolls, but he'll
Have some
be able to
good
see 'em.
shading in there.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
bring on some good down lighting and
As long as he gets shadows, I think he'll be happy about it. So you wanted to talk a little bit about, what we just talked about, like resolutions and stuff.
Yeah.
What's one specific thing that comes to mind when you think about people making resolutions?
There's very few things people want, right? It's either like something to do with physicality, something monetarily, and then even spiritually. People want one of those sectors, right? In my world, people are always trying to be fit by summer, right? That's always the goal. Like, I'm gonna hit the beach, I'm gonna have a six pack, like you just said by that guy.
Yeah.
Six pack be jacked. They have these pictures they bring in, and you show me a picture of Arnold. Or just
man.
some guy relatively close to him. There's just too many Instagram influencers that are hopped up on steroids that people come in. They just don't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? And you're like, I could look like this guy, and I feel like I could do it in 6 months. And reality is, it's just not going to happen. But for the people who do truly want to get in shape, that's not going to put a damper on them. Be like, all right, I understand. Like, I'm not at that level yet, but I do want to get in shape. Start at whatever level he is at. I think for the most part, that is the biggest thing in my world that I've had to deal with. Monetarily, that always comes and goes. Spiritually, I don't meet many people, probably in your world.
Yeah.
More so.
I think there's a higher percentage of people that don't realize, because you just mentioned when they bring in like an influencer or someone that's in the bodybuilding world that's pro. I don't think a lot of people realize that there's a higher percentage of people using steroids than they always want to look like someone that's on steroids, but they don't want to take steroids, but they don't know that that's what it takes to look like that.
Yeah.
Like if you want to look like a leaf and you want to be like over 230, like it's not happening naturally unless you're naturally like a really big boy. That's just not going to happen. So like, I think people have this misperception or misconception,
Misperception, I think.
I don't know what
Misinterpretation would be the best term, I'd say.
Yeah. And so like, I'm not saying all of them are, because there are some people that are genetically gifted, but a lot of the ones that are look like they're in really great shape. They're actually really small. Like they're like 130 pounds, 150 pounds, 170 pounds tops.
Well, we were just talking about that one kid on TikTok, right? That one you said with the has a baby-sized head.
Oh yeah.
Super jacked, right?
Yeah, super jacked.
But a lot of that's angles, lighting, pump pictures. Like we're getting a pump before taking the picture.
Yeah, there's this other guy that I follow for a while, and what he does is he shows like an exercise like that doing it wrong, and then he shows the way you're doing it right. It's an Asian guy.
I've seen that kid.
Yeah, and he looks super jacked, but he's 137 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's like he's not really. He's like if he sat here with us, he would be so tiny, because I'm 210 and Austin's what 230 right now, or 227.
219.
219. Okay, he's 219, but he's like he's in a
I got
different,
lean.
yeah, he's lean, and I'm still like 12, 13, maybe 15% right now. So, um, yeah. So, anyways, when you see somebody like that, and you figure out what their weight is, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
And your perception of what you want to look like. People always bring in the big boys, the heavy boys, the 220 plus guys, and it's like you can look like that, but you won't be his size standing next to somebody else. In clothes, you're gonna look like a little scrawny person. It's just that's the way it works.
And to be honest, sometimes that does look better.
Yeah. If you guys go back to the very first 3 episodes, you guys got to look at the first 3 episodes, and you look at Austin. He was like 250, 260 in those episodes, and he just was.
You know what's funny though is that I just started my cut that week. I think I dropped to 243, and I thought I was looking lean. I was like, yeah, I'm getting lean. And I look back, I'm like, oh man, so chunker.
Yeah, and that goes to it. Even someone experienced like Austin, it takes time.
Yeah.
And a lot of people out there, they're like, oh, I can just do this in 6 months. But if you've never done it before, it's going to be harder for you to do it because you don't know what it takes. So there's going to be those ups and downs, like what you said, that one guy.
Yeah.
Rewarding himself. You're going to do, that's what ends up happening when you're not experienced and you don't know what it takes. You do these little like breaks that become a week long, 2 weeks long, and then you're back where you started. It's easier to go back to where you started than it is to go forward. So you have to be very careful of those little slip ups.
Yeah. And honestly, like if you're trying to do something, you have a massive goal for it, you should either get educated for it in the forehand. That takes a lot of time, or you should hire someone to do it for you, or at least to help you do it. Right. If I'm trying to get rich, I obviously don't know what it takes to get like rich. You would have someone educate you formally or mentor you in some aspect to help get you in the right direction. Same thing with fitness. If you want to get a 6-pack, you want to get lean, get in shape, and you've been overweight your whole life, you know how to eat. That's your specialty. Like, you know where to go to get good food.
Yeah.
But as far as get a 6-pack, you probably don't know. I don't want to say anything about it, but you probably just don't know what you need to know. So get a professional.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the first mistake people will do is that they'll go to the gym every single day, or they'll go in the gym. This is the inexperienced person, and they'll hit every single muscle and they'll hit it really hard. And then that's the last time you're going to be hitting the gym for a week.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be so sore. And that's why you need someone experienced and someone to actually watch you, to say, like, limit you and like, hey, just do a little bit and work your way up, because you're going to, burn yourself out really quick.
But you know what's really cool is you should use the New Year's motivation and momentum to take you into that fitness goal you have. I mean, like, there's not a lot of times you get very motivated. I think New Year's is one of those times, especially if your reality hasn't shattered yet from you messing up the last few years. That is a great time to start any fitness transformation.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the thing that I would encourage people to do is that, like, you have to like outlast the resolutioners, especially if you're planning on going to a gym and you're going to join a gym today, or you already joined a gym this week and you already paid a full year's worth of whatever it is. Like, don't waste your money. It's already spent. Yeah. Keep going. And it's going to seem like it's packed. I know. See, this is why I have a home gym. It's only packed when I let it be packed. It doesn't have to be packed every day. I can get to the equipment, but there might be only like 5-10 extra people in the gym, in your gym. But it seems like, oh man, the machine I would usually use is not free right now, and it's going to seem packed. But you can't let that discourage what you're going to do and the goals that you have, because your goal is your goal, no matter who's in the way. And I think the second thing, I think we've already touched on this, is, man, if you have an off day, don't let your off day become an off week. The same way you let 2023 roll over into one day. It's only one day from last year to this year. It's only one day. Yeah. And so now you're trying to make all these changes, not over a year, like, because our mentality is, oh, the whole year is behind me. Really only one day is behind you.
Yeah.
And you're making that change from yesterday to today. And if today messes up, guess what? You make the same mental decision today to do the same thing tomorrow. Like, it's only day to day. So don't let a whole year stack up against you, or multiple years, and say, oh, like, I've failed all these years. No, it's just one day. What happens when city slickers? What happens when we fall off the horse? We get back on. So, like, hey, you fall off the horse one day, the very next day, do not let it stack up on you. Get right back and get back on your program.
Yeah. I think I was about to say funnest. Is it the funnest?
The most fun.
Most fun. The most fun thing you could do is just stack wins, right? If you think of things as in like what? Minutes, hours, days, weeks, months. If you just think of like, okay, did I win that last minute? You know, did I win that last hour? Did I win that day? You know, if you happen to lose that day, you know, how does that coexist with all your other wins throughout the week? Or did you hit more wins during the week than losses? Then you're doing good, right? Don't worry about that loss. You know, you take one on the chin and then you move on, right? You got 6 wins and 1 loss. You're good.
Yeah.
You know, move on to the next week. What can you do next week? Can you get 7 wins in a row? Try for that. And at the end of the year, you just look back and you're like, okay, how many days, how many months, how many weeks did I win? And then how many did I lose? You know, it might not be as bad as you think, but you should always continue to progress in some sort of manner.
I had a friend that had a calendar, and every day she would do something. It was like, so when she got her steps in, she'd draw a little shoe on that day. When she had a workout, she'd draw a little dumbbell on that day.
Yeah.
And then if she drank all of her water for the day, she'd draw a water bottle. So when she look at her calendar, she sees all these little emojis along the whole calendar where she can remind herself, oh no, I did it all these days. And there might be a day where she missed it, but maybe she only missed one of the icons. Yeah. But it gives you that visualization, like, hey, I'm doing it and I'm getting it done. Yeah, you might miss a day, but guess what? The next day you have an opportunity to draw it right back on there and fill in the bubble, or fill in the small goal, because it's like changing the set.
Yeah,
that was a 1 day thing. I can do that immediately. It's done. Easy win, like you said. But for physical change, mental change, smarts change, spiritual change, it is a daily grind. And it's unfortunately, and I mean, it is unfortunate. You will never arrive. You'll never be done. You can always get better. And there's never going to be a time where you can just say, oh, like, I'm done with fitness, because it's something you should be maintaining your entire life. And it's something that you should be making strides and goals towards achieving.
You think of it this way: you're eventually going to come back to it. You're not going to quit forever. So why would you even quit to begin with?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you're just prolonging what's gonna eventually happen.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what are some steps we can do? Because you said, hey, this guy made this like a crazy goal that wasn't attainable, and it wasn't even a goal that he should have been making for himself. Like, you know, like this fitness influencer. What are some things that you've been taught, maybe even recently, to help you go to make goals and then achieve goals?
Dude, well, the corniest thing you can do is look up a SMART goal, right? I think since elementary school, teachers have given that out. Like, what are your SMART goals for this year? And you're like, what the heck is a SMART goal? And obviously that's one of the best uses or things to start with for the year. Oh, yeah. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. Like, that's a SMART goal. So what do you want to happen? That would be part of the specific aspect. You know, how will I know when I've achieved my goal? Measurable. Is the goal realistic, and how will I accomplish it? Attainable. Why is my goal so important to me? Relevant. And what is my deadline for this goal? Timely. If you put one goal into all those categories, then you have a real purpose and a real shot at attaining it. If you say, like, I want $1 billion, well, you know, is that really realistic? You know, is that really attainable in the year or whatever it is? Maybe a lifetime, but in that year, like we're talking about in the short term here. You got to start with the small ones first.
Yeah. I know someone that said, oh, I want to run a marathon one day.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a great goal, but you didn't say when.
Yeah.
So you're not going to start training for it. It's just one day.
Yeah.
But if you say, hey, I'm going to run for a marathon in July, then now you have this time where you're like, okay, I got to train up until that point. So now that's when you start. Okay, so your goal is, hey, I'm going to run a marathon in July. So you know the time and you know the specific thing already. And then you start, the measurable part is like, okay, how far can I run and how fast can I do that right now?
Yeah.
Let me start measuring that. And so you need to go further and faster, you know, with your training as you go. And if it's attainable, I mean, if you've never ran, I would say running a marathon from now until July, that's probably too lofty of a goal. You should be running like a quarter or a half marathon. It should be more your goal.
Mostly because you'll probably just wreck yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You won't be able to recover in time.
And then like being relevant, is this something that you want to like do? And for me, like if you're somebody that just wants to get in better shape or in better health, then that's a great avenue towards getting there. I personally am not a runner. I wouldn't do it as a random example. We started doing this at my job, and like I thought the same thing you said. Oh, this is corny. This is dumb. Like, why are we doing this? But like things that we wanted to accomplish, like it made it more doable because it wasn't like what I just said. Oh, one day we'll do this, or one day we'll accomplish this. We set goals and just said, hey, these are the exact blueprints to get there. You know, like that. Without that, like how else do you do it?
Yeah, the easiest way to think about this is you're just breaking down whatever you want to do, right? You break it down to smaller, conceptual pieces that you can be like, okay, so I want to run a marathon, like you're saying, like, right?
Let's do it more your realm. Like you want to do a bodybuilding show by next August. Okay, so now what do you start giving that person?
See, for something like that, you just be like, all right, so what is our timeline? All right, well, you want to do one in May? Well, if you're like 20% body fat, that's a little bit too close of a deadline, right? So maybe we push that off. You have to be realistic, right? Bring it back to reality here. You're 20% body fat. You got to get down to 4%, 5% body fat for a show to do well and look good, be presentable. You don't want to go on stage and get blown around the water and have some bad pictures, right? You want to look good, right? But be very specific. So you want to get on stage. How do you want to look on stage? You want to be peeled? Okay. You want to be peeled? Then we got to extend that deadline, right? So all these play into a role with each other. Measurable, man. Sometimes I do think bodybuilding is hard to measure because there's so many key aspects in it.
Something that I do. So I don't know whether you had a thought, but real quick, something that I do because it is so hard to measure is I actually do measure body parts. Yeah. So that's one thing. I don't know whether everybody does this, but
literally measuring.
Yeah, measuring body parts. Your bicep, your chest, your shoulders. Take photos, your weight, and then also how much you can lift. So there's 4 different ways you can measure whether you're making progress. So when you take photos, you do side by sides. Oh, am I making progress? It's like my first 5 weeks, I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm doing all this work and nothing's happening. Yeah. And then I look at a side by side. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, things are moving. Then you measure yourself, and you're like, measuring is really weird because you could be smaller but bigger. Yeah. So like you could have 17-inch arms one week, and then the next week you have 16 and 3/4, and you're like, dang man, I got smaller. Yeah. But you just probably lost fat. And so this is the part where you're looking at now definition. And then the other thing you're looking at is my weight going up every week and how am I controlling it? And that's another thing why Austin was talking about having a coach and hiring a coach in the beginning, because like they help you keep yourself accountable. Like I notice when I'm lifting the first time, the first couple of sessions, I'm really lifting super controlled. But as I go heavier, like it gets a little bit wonky and then I have to bring it back under control. But so one of the things I do is I send Austin videos of like, hey, here's what I'm doing this week. And then he gives me tips. And it doesn't matter how many times I've done it. I send him a new video, 2-3 weeks later of the same workout. And then he's like, oh, well, you can do this other thing to make this better. So like there's always something that those aspects help you measure it better. And then your weight, obviously.
These are just some things like that you would not know unless someone else was pointing it out to you. And obviously you want someone who's very specific in that field. So a lot of times, we were just talking about it. Like you're like, I feel like I should be progressing faster, right? It had only been like 3 weeks, right? Yeah. But like when you put the side by side pictures, you're like, oh shoot, I am progressing well. Like my weight's staying the same, but my body's recomping here. You're losing off the waist. You're getting more muscle definition, back in chest area. It's like, oh, you don't notice those things until someone points it out to you. We can be somewhat of an emotionally attached to our outcomes, right? So you need someone who's just not as emotionally attached to it. Like
no, you're still emotionally attached because if you have a client that's messing around, you're like, nah, man, what are you doing? Wasting my time.
Yeah. Nah, but when you are thinking about goals, get to the nitty gritty of it. Make sure that it's something you can actually break down. Everything you could break down pretty much. There are some things you can't, but like $1 billion, like, that's.
Well, you would start like, let me make my first $10,000.
Yeah.
And then you would say, okay, well, and then you would say, okay, once I attain that, making my $10,000, okay, let me figure out where I need to invest. And then like it goes from there. It would snowball. You'd make multiple SMART goals to get to it. You can't just say,
you have to reverse engineer everything. Some things are going to take multiple, like you said, SMART goals to break it down. But not to go in any deeper with that because we're not financial people. Like we're workout bros. But just another thing, like I don't know if it happened to you a lot in the gym, but it happens to me, and I just hate being that guy. There's going to be people that want to talk to you in the gym, right? They want to tell you their story. That I did this today. There are people that they just like to talk, man. And like, there's always that middle-aged guy. He comes up to you, he's like, "Hey, pal, how you doing? You know, yeah, when I was your age, I used to squat 500 pounds, 10, 20 reps in a row." And you're just like, "Come on, back."
Yeah.
Like, and you, it's not that you feel bad. It's just like, you don't want to be a jerk. You don't want to walk away from the conversation. You're trying to be nice about it. You don't want to be rude. You're like, yeah, I could totally see that, you know, like you're just playing along because you don't want to be rude. But you have to remember that your gym time is your gym time, right? Like I don't know if that's ever happened to you before. It's happened to me many times as a trainer, and I'm like a guy that stands out there. So if I were to walk away from someone, it's kind of like, oh, that's that trainer. He's a jerk. You know?
No, but I think every time I've gone to the gym with you, I always see some random dude that is like walking, like, you know, the regulars, so they know all the other regulars. And I watched that one guy. I'm obviously not going to say his name, but we were in Nevada, and he walked up and he was talking to Faith, and then he came by and like adapt us all, and then he went somewhere else and started talking. Like he was still working out, but he was like going around to other places and like just saying hi to everybody, like just being a gym social butterfly. Yeah. And then there's that one guy, we were trying to do some T-bar rows, chest assisted T-bar rows, and there's this guy that was warming up for literally like 45 minutes.
Oh yeah.
I don't even think he was warming up, man. He was putting on like just he was putting on knee wraps,
plates around his. I don't know.
He was doing a bunch and never even got on the machine.
Yeah. We're just like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I was upset.
All that to say, it's like, it's your gym time.
Yeah.
You know, spend it how you want. It's not rude to say like, or you can do it this way. You go up to the guy, you let him know like, hey, I'm just trying to get my sets in, but I love this conversation. Let's continue after. Something to the effect where it's very non-confrontational. It's something where like you're respecting that he wants to talk to you, but you're not letting him take your time. You know, people respect that if you're honest with them. Most people. The others, forget about them. They're crazy. Yeah, you know, they're never gonna learn.
This is where I say, hey, build your own home gym. But if you're trying to bodybuild, I mean, I would rebuild my gym now thinking about bodybuilding, because I would get a lot of more machines rather than free weights, because it helps. The more support you have, the more stability you have, the better you're going to be able to contract muscles. So when you have a lot of free weights, of course, yes, you're going to still put in some work, because that's foolish to say like that it doesn't work, because that's what they did in the old school days. They didn't have all these machines, but you can do it even better with more stable machines. So
better and safer. That's what we're looking for. Is safe,
especially leg stuff. I would get a ton of different leg stuff, because while I love the belt squat, it still puts like a lot of shear strength against your spine. Like it so pulls sideways on your spine. So what are the things that so now someone's decided to like, I'm in the gym now, I'm doing my thing, I've created my goals. What are some things that people should focus on just in general? Like if fitness specific is their goal, well, we could talk about all three things, but fitness specifically right now, what's some stuff that they should focus on to keeping it simple or specific, smart, you know, all the things.
You don't need a lot. I think that's the most important thing. If you're going to the gym and you haven't been, let's say you're not an avid gym goer, you're just getting into lifting weights, even maybe dieting, you don't need a lot of change. Your body's going to adapt to the stimulus you place on it, right? So one day you're playing video games, eating chips all day on the couch, right? The next day you're like, I'm gonna go to the gym now. You've had that exposure to eating chips and sitting on the couch all day, right?
Yeah.
Now you've just provided a new exposure, a new experience for it. So now that you've done that, your body's like, oh, what the heck are you doing, man? And so it has to change. It has to adapt. So you feel tired, you feel sluggish, and you're trying to recover from that beating you just gave it into the gym. Now the next day you're gonna be like, oh, I can't go in there. Well, relax. Your body's got to recuperate a little bit, but maybe the next day you can come back in the gym. You hit it again, right? Got to pull back again, go back in the gym. So 3 times a week, maybe 4 if you want to. I think is a good place to start when you're in the gym working out. Make it like full body, upper, lower splits, that type of thing. Make it very broad. Hit everything you want to hit. Get out. Like I said, don't talk to people. Just do your business. As far as like cardio goes, again, you don't need a lot. Like you just start with weight training. But if you want to add cardio in there, you can 2 to 3 times a week, 15, 20 minutes, moderate intensity, challenge yourself, but don't put yourself on the ground. But I think the biggest thing would be like just getting some steps. Steps throughout the day is probably the biggest thing. Not only are you working on your cardiovascular health, you're also just working on your digestive health, brain function, stuff like that. Getting blood flow in there throughout the whole day rather than like we talked about just sitting and not getting any circulation going.
Yeah.
And then as far as eating, stick to whatever you can do. I think when I was changing my diets, the easiest one to change to was carnivore. It was very plain. It was very simple. All you do is eat meat, right? Just make sure you got a good amount of fat, and then obviously the protein is going to come anyway. I was able to stick to that for a long time before I ever changed anything.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never done that specifically. I've done keto, which is pretty close actually.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just meat. I don't know. I'd have to try that. So
It's brainless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, all right, what am I having today? Oh yeah, ribeye. Like,
yeah,
the less you have to think, the more you can do it.
yeah. I think the thing that if somebody like, how about just don't change your diet, but just do this, cut something out of it.
Yeah.
Just all the sugar that you intake, just stop that one for now. Like if you're gonna do something, make it really simple. Sugars, just eat what you normally eat. Just cut all the sugar out and do that for the first month of the year and see how your body feels. I guarantee you're gonna cut out at least 5-6 pounds of fat you would potentially gain by just cutting out all the sugar, and you'll probably lose a lot of that. For me, when I eat sugar, my back gets that's the only time my back hurts. I've been doing all these workouts that I've changed to for I think it's like 8-9 weeks now, but just these past 2 weeks, with the sugar around the house, I'm not even eating a ton of sugar. It's just a little bit of sugar here and there. And man, my back has been hurting like every single morning for the past week and a half. So if you have back problems, if you're someone that has a hard time getting in shape, sugar is a huge culprit, especially because it's compound. So like when you eat it, it makes you want to eat more sugar. And once you take it out, you lose that taste for sugar. And like things like honey for me, like I've been eating a lot of honey. It's not something I crave, but when I want sugar, it's something I can eat, and then it quenches any kind of like desire for corn syrup type sugar. And
So yeah. So when you're talking about sugar, you mean refined, mostly refined sugars.
Yeah.
Things that are just an obscene amount in one exposure, right?
Yeah.
Because there are things that do have sugar in them, and they're not bad for you per se. It's just the amount you're exposed to. Like the devil's always in the dose, right?
Yeah.
When we have sugar, it's always in mass volumes, right?
Yeah, you got this king size baby Ruth that you eat.
Yeah. Or that cinnamon rolls I made last week too.
Yeah, and then they made creme brulee French toast this morning, and that
was good.
You had some?
Yeah, I had some of that.
Bro, that was really good.
Morning.
Oh yeah, that destroyed my macros today. But still, like every once in a while, you can treat yourself. But like eat fruit, eat honey, eat more the natural like types of sugars. But
White rice.
Yeah, white rice, whatever. But when it comes to eating a candy bar, eating cookies, cake, brownies, like ice cream, you know what I mean by like dessert type stuff, and just treats like Rice Krispie treats and whatever else.
I think also the reason why people, and that's not to go off on a tangent, but the reason why like oh, I'm blowing up because of sugar. Usually it's mass amounts of sugar paired with high fats as well. So when you
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
the king size Baby Ruths, like, yeah, it has a crap ton of sugar in it, but then you're also getting a crap ton of fat in it
Yeah.
as well. That's what makes it delicious. That's why it's tasty.
Yeah, if you ever like food, I guarantee it has a lot of fat content and sugar content in it, and that's why you like it so much.
Yeah.
I learned that. I learned that as doing my macros. I'm like, oh man, dude, this tastes really good. And then when I look at my macros, like my fat is like, I'm done for the day after that one little bite of whatever it was.
It's funny. I had a client one day tell me like, oh, I think I did a good job of tracking my food, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. Let me see your MyFitnessPal. I was just going over it, and then I was like, dude, you went way over. And he's like, no, I just intuitively ate and wrote it down later. And I felt good. I was like, you're not going to even feel that stuff hit your stomach, bro. Like, it's going to run right through you. You don't know. If it tastes good, it's probably going to be heavy loading on calories.
Yeah.
But that just reminded me of that time. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I eat super bland now for the most part. And the past 2 weeks, it has been very exciting.
But bland isn't that bland though, because you can have different sauces you put in it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you'd be surprised at how far salt and pepper will take you with your meats and rice and veggies.
That and even like soy sauce. Yeah. I even do barbecue sauce.
Dude, those 0-calorie barbecue sauces are great.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I could talk about food all day, man.
Yeah. But yeah.
I know for me, like I said in the beginning, resolutions aren't necessarily my thing, but I think for me, I think this year is definitely like, mine is let my yes be yes and my no be no. If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it and just be consistent. Those are like my things. I think every single year I have the same one. For the most part, it's, put God first, and then all the other things in my life that I need will be taken care of. But I think this year, like, while that's always going to be a major theme, it's like, man, if I say I'm going to do something, to do it, regardless of who's watching, regardless of who I promise something to, I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do because I said it, not because I need a contract, not because I need some sort of oath made or anything like that, or some pledge or vow. I'm just going to do it because I said I'm going to do it.
So what's your big one this year though? So we got all the good small ones, the very easy ones. But what's the big one?
It's consistency with posting on YouTube and social media. Like, I think we talked about this already, but like, I know that I need to do it, and I have a lot to say and a lot of thoughts that I have, but I just don't do it because I'm like, oh, how is this going to be received? I don't care. Like, I have to not care and do it because that's what I want to do, and not because. And there's specific people that I want to help and reach out to. Mostly, it's like, parents, dads, husbands, guys my age, or even young guys that don't have a mentor or somebody that wants to come up and do better things. Like, I want to be there for that male, because there's not a lot of males that have somebody looking out for them. A lot of more than 50% of, I don't know what the number is. I'm not gonna throw a number out there, but a higher and higher number of male children don't have fathers around. So not that I want to be all these kids' dad, but they don't have anybody to look up to that's trying to do right by them. So I want to speak up for them. I want to speak up to the men that I know are out there working and doing great things, but they don't have someone encouraging them. That's what I want to do. So I'd be better about doing that and being present for that.
I think for me, it would be I would like to service 100 different people at the same time for clients. When I say service, I mean provide the best possible service. And I believe like 100 is right at that threshold.
Yeah.
And this is just based off of like, okay, what's my timeline for different clients throughout the week? How long does that actually take? Is it realistic? Am I able to do that at the same time throughout a whole week's period? I think that is the very top of things. And I want to hit that threshold to see for myself, like, how much can I give of myself without particularly going crazy,
Yeah.
Or falling off completely.
Yeah, that sounds about like if you have them specifically spread out where they do their check-ins on specific days.
Yeah.
That's about 4 a day that you're making contact with.
Yeah.
And I think that's reasonable.
But it's like to the point where you want to give them the same exact service you're doing now. So you take care of the clients to the utmost as possible right now. I get back to your messages within a half hour, if not an hour time. Hour, if not a half hour time, mostly. But like that's the kind of customer service you'd want when you had like double or triple the amount of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully you guys have made some sort of resolution this year, because I know that getting better every single year is an important thing. But remember, it's not like from one year to the next that you have to do it. It's just day to day. And promise yourself or promise the people that you've ever made promises to that you're going to do some stuff. Man, today is the day to start doing that. So whatever day you're listening to this, whether it's the 7th or the 14th or whatever, maybe it's in June or July from now, whatever you said you were going to do, make sure that you're doing it. Thank you for hanging out with us. We will see you in the next video.